Hello, welcome to episode 28 of NoHoldBarredPod. That's Sal.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And that's another guest this week. We've got Chantel.
Hey.
Hey, great to have you along.
Thank you.
Just want to introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll come back to some points in a minute.
Yeah, so let me kind of introduce myself as somebody who's probably been slightly hassling Sal to discuss this topic. So, thank you
Not
for
at
kind of
all.
inviting me along to do that. Yeah,
You
I
didn't
was
hassle
very
me at all.
well. I was very sort of
I invited you.
hint, we kind of need to do this. So thanks for inviting me along to do it. And actually what triggered it was something that sort of happened last month on sort of LBC, the Sheila Fogarty show. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's not a topic that we sort of hear about too often, which is that kind of growing connection between transphobia, trans ideology, all of those things that are kind of thrown out there, and increasingly the far right movement, which I know that you guys have kind of spoken about in the past. So we'll talk about those things.
Yes.
What I'm not here to sort of do, Don, is to talk about the kind of everyday stuff. There's a lot of debate about trans women in women's sports and women's spaces and all of these, and I don't, those are being debated to death, and those are not what I'm here to talk
that's
about
cool.
today. So yeah,
no problem. All good. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming. It's great to have you. So two things I want to say before we start properly. Firstly, I forgot to say last week I was moonlighting on a different podcast from our lovely friend Dr. Rachel over at I've got to get it right because she's got so many she's got 5 Substacks. Yes, it was The Bite. Thank you, Sal. Thank you. Your mic's gone low. Have you turned it down?
I didn't. The cat did.
The cat. There you go. Better. That's it. I mean, podcasts in causing trouble already. Yeah. So, just Dr. Rachel Morris over at The Bite on Substack. I'll put a link to it underneath. Had me on last week to chat about my writing side of things rather than the podcasting side, and it was brilliant to chat to her. So, go over listen.
It's a lovely lesson.
Cool. Yeah, and everything Rachel does is amazing anyway, and it's particularly what she does with in Wales. She's such a big advocate for Wales, which is something we may touch on later as of what's happening today, being Thursday the 23rd. Second thing before we get started, I was in Leeds this weekend seeing some very old friends, and I promised them I'd give them a shout out because Dave said, "Oh, do we get a shout out?" Because we spent 11 hours in the pub talking about politics mainly. So
are they going to be impressed with you describing them as very old?
Well, I'm the oldest out of all of them, so as in I've known them for like 30 years or so. So Dave, Tom, and Tim and Fred as well. I was out with them. Had a good chinwag over a load of beer last weekend in Leeds, which is still as amazing as it always was. So yeah, cool. Right, let's stop that. Let's rabbiting on and get on with the show.
No,
Sal's got
Leeds.
Sal's got a PMQs face ready, I can see. So yeah, let's go.
About Leeds.
More about Leeds,
please. As mentioned earlier, I have a lot of lists. It was quite a substantive PMQs. Okay. For some reason, I've written national renewal down as my first 2 words, and I don't know why. So he must have mentioned that when he stood up.
Yeah.
They had a guest in the gallery who is the mother of 2 murdered kids. Who assisted with a law change in family court whereby parents are not now seen as sort of equal in the eyes of the law if they've got previous for, like violence and stuff. That's changed, thankfully, thanks to that brave lady. So they were talking about that. Ross Savage from the Lib Dems stood up and made some sort of hilarious joke that I didn't find that funny. But it was basically she questioned the digital ID. The whole house burst out laughing and asked if Starmer will reverse the ID plan because it's so open to flaw. And he responded that the access to public services people would have would be worth it. Okay.
The laughter, I think, was because she was the one that had been photographed the day before. Her question had been leaked. Someone had photographed the minister holding it in a clear folder. So it was her question that was the whole non-funny
laughter. Are you seeing the olden
thing.
days? That would have been a news story that I'd have heard.
Yeah, it would have. But yeah.
However, Jane Kirkham stood up, plant question about new build investment. Wants the housing minister to come and expedite her local builds. And Starmer said yes, of course.
Yeah, don't they all?
Wanged on about Tories stealing the dream of home ownership. Bad Enoch stood up.
Freudian slip.
4 rape gang survivors have resigned from the grooming gang inquiry due to loss of confidence. So Bad Enoch gave her first question to one of these survivors that's not the China spy issue, called Fiona, I believe. And Fiona's question is, what's the point of speaking up when we're just going to be called liars? Now, it worked me this, because I've had lots of life experience of being called a liar. Certainly by the system. So I get it. Starmer replied that he thanked Badenoch and Fiona for the question. He said it's the worst scandal of our time. Okay. There's a lot of terrible ones. His vow to Fiona is that this inquiry will change that, so it won't happen again. He acknowledges some people have stepped away, but the door will remain open should they wish to return. We owe it to all concerned to answer the questions they raise. The inquiry has not and will not be watered down. Dame Louise Casey will be supporting the inquiry. Badenoch comes back at him. She doesn't think Fiona would be satisfied with that answer. Why would they return when the government has waged a briefing war against survivors? And there was an awful lot of heckling going on, which, given the substance matter, I find abhorrent. I don't give a shit where you are.
Yeah, it was rough, that.
So I've got another quote from another survivor that Badenoch read out. The government has created a toxic environment for survivors. Elizabeth, who was 14 at the time she was abused. Yesterday, the safeguarding minister said Elizabeth was wrong. Who should we believe? Starmer put on record his, I put in brackets, disingenuous respect for survivors. And he thanks the individuals who've helped so far, basically in direct word salad response. Badenoch said he says he wants survivors to be at the heart of this issue, but previously on record stating an inquiry wasn't needed. All the MPs cheered and voted against the inquiry 3 times. The victims don't trust them. And she kept calling them victims when I thought they were survivors, but...
Yeah. Victim's a bit of a loaded word, isn't it?
It's a very loaded word. Starmer says it'll be a complete inquiry, they're trying to get the leadership right. The introduction of mandatory reporting of sexual abuse, something the Tories voted against. I've just put a bit of a non-answer. Badenoch says, what's the point of mandatory reporting if victims aren't believed? 10 months looking for... Whoa, I don't know what I've written there, sorry. 10 months looking for a change. The victims want a judge on the panel. Why doesn't the inquiry deserve one? Starmer said Louise Casey decided not to have a judge for 2 reasons that he wanted to make explicitly clear. 1, speed. Okay. And 2, they wanted to run concurrent criminal investigations alongside the inquiry. To do it separately would seemingly take forever. So speed again. So it's about time.
Yeah.
Okay. But we'll talk about that later in part 2, perhaps.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got so many notes. Starmer then explained that...
Oh, sorry, go on. Karen.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Starmer explained that the mandatory reporting is regarding second, third, fourth person reporting responsibilities. So if a survivor/victim has come to you, you have a legal right to feed that down the pipe. Otherwise, it's illegal. Was what I took. So that was something I learned through PMQs. Badenoch said the survivors believe Phillips lied to them. She's lost the confidence of survivors. Does she still have the confidence of the PM? Starmer said he respects the views of all survivors, but the Minister for Safeguarding has the most experience in the House when dealing with violence against women and girls. Phillips and Casey spent decades advocating for survivors. Badenoch said that she doesn't have more experience than survivors, which is a key point. A few weeks ago, he said he had full confidence in the best friend of a convicted PDF file. The survivors want her sacked. We all want her sacked. Okay. Starmer stood up and said, you never mentioned it for 14 years. And that was that. So, using rape survivors for politicking, that's what that is.
Yeah,
Bill Esterson from down the road stood up and started talking about a world-leading mental health project, and I thought, ooh, this sounds exciting. What's all this about, Bill? And then he said something about McGull Health Centre, and I thought, oh, right, okay, great. Didn't really. It's some sort of research thing that they're doing. So
yeah, I don't know anything about that one.
It's a good thing, blah, blah. It must have been a plant because Starmer stood up and said, blah, 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 wonderful investment in activity, blah, blah. Yeah. Ed Davey. Does the House need to scrutinise the royal finances? Side note, because Sweaty Nonce isn't paying any rent. Will he support a select committee inquiry so we can all witness, including the current occupant? Oh, I'm not going to. Yeah, I've just said that. Will he support a select committee inquiry so we can all witness? So we can call witnesses. Sorry, including the current incumbent of the Royal Lodge.
Yeah, never gonna happen.
Well, Starmer said, interesting actually. Starmer said it's important that proper scrutiny is carried out and essentially gave a positive response to it. I was watching the news agents yesterday. Very interesting if you want to go and check them out because they've come out quite anti-royal. And they said that normally the royal family isn't discussed on the floor. It's like an unwritten, unspoken rule that they don't discuss the royals, and now they're starting to get discussed. So,
well, the speaker had to stand up and say that we're not allowed to criticise the royals. Was it today or yesterday? After that, yeah, he actually made a point to say we don't criticise the royal family in the House. So that's been dealt with, I think, by Lindsay Hoyle. No, I know, but he came out, I think it was today or yesterday, but he said that. He said, we don't criticise the royal family in this House. Okay. Someone's had a knock on the door.
Stating fact.
No, I agree.
Lindsay was such a twat, honest to God. Anywho. Yeah. He then said, Brexit's finally been declared a disaster. No. Is it?
Officially, yeah.
With the highest inflation in the G7, will the Prime Minister act to renegotiate the deal? And Starmer said no. We're making closer ties with the EU and looking for overseas investment. Somebody stood up and started talking about potholes. Starmer said that the council should fill in the potholes or return the money. Ellie Chowns had a good one. Does the Prime Minister agree it's inequality, not immigration, that's a threat to the UK? He swerved it. And
Did he? I missed that one. Yeah.
I think my hand got very tired then, and I might have stopped writing things.
Well, there was an interesting point that you made at the start of that, Sal, that you only briefly covered, which is around the changes to, family court proceedings. Because actually it's a lot more. I understand why you've spent most of your time talking about the grooming gangs inquiry, because that is really big news. But I think that's kind of the other point that you've made is going a little under the radar. There's a couple of things there. First of all, people don't realise that if they go to the family court, the cases are not heard on the basis of the parents' rights. They're not. It's not the father's rights, the mother's rights. They're heard on behalf of the children. So it's about the rights of the children that are being debated, whether that's about who gets custody or whatever else it is. And the premise of the instruction and the premise to the family court is always that the child is better off with contact with both parents. And so therefore,
I used to think that.
The entire thing, therefore, is built on the premise that we're going to work towards these children having both their parents in their life. And that has not taken sufficiently into account whether one or other of the parents would perhaps, or has even committed crimes either against the children or the mother or father. And in fact, my experience is there that when my children were appointed a ward of the court and were allocated a social worker, which happens in all of these cases, the social worker actually said to me, "You'd have more chance of seeing these children if you were in prison right now for assaulting their mother."
Really?
So yeah, absolutely. If you're just a private citizen and don't have that and an access to the free legal advice and everything that would come with you being in that position, it's very, very, very difficult. So that really is a fundamental change to the way these cases will be heard. And the assumption will not be made that the children will, by the end of the case, be in contact with both parents. So it's big.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Wow.
It's long overdue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me know if you can hear me, will you? Because
it's gone down a little again.
That better?
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool.
I'm going to have to get a bit of sticky tape.
I know. Yeah.
Or put the cat down, one or the other.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that. Let's not advocate for that on the podcast. Or cat. I know. Yeah.
Sorry, Chantel.
No, you're okay. I'm here for the
interesting.
Yeah.
The grooming gang thing seems to me, and I'm not 100% over the detail of every part of this, but it feels like there's been a pull to the far right in this with influence from reform. I think 2 or 3 of the victims that have been removed have spoke up as reform and at reform meetings in the past. And the Dame Maggie Oliver I saw was on the TV. She's also highly linked to reform. She's making
She's been
it
co-opted by him for years. But that's the trouble is when the powers that be don't listen to the people who are shouting, they're gonna naturally side with the people that go, "Come here, we'll listen to you.
Exactly.
We'll listen to you. We'll help you. We'll look after you." And they're just being manipulated for political purposes. It's fucking repulsive.
Yeah, but what I thought, and I think it was on the news this morning, was that they said that we'll come back. 2 of them have said we'll come back if you get rid of Jess Phillips, and that's purely like
come from reform. I'm telling you now.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Are we going to talk about this now? Because I've gone and done a bit of research, so I do know what's going on with it.
Yeah,
now.
go for it. Why not? I mean, it doesn't.
By and large, so they've got this inquiry together to go over the historical blockings of abuse reporting and consequences being handed down the line. And the 2 people that they found to head up the inquiry, one had previous working for social services at a high level. And the other one was a time-served high-level copper. Now, both of those institutions are the 2 institutions that failed the people in the first place. Why the fuck would you even think to put somebody from those institutions heading the inquiry? Just is beyond me. And they're saying they want a judge, like a time-served sort of judge to handle the inquiry. And for whatever reason, Louise Casey's turned around and said, no. Now, why?
Well, it's
so one thing I did want to say is that I think I'm not for a second shitting on all the work Jess Phillips has demonstrably done over the decades at all. What I will take issue with is her, I would genuinely call it a dysregulated anxiety that comes out as anger and frustration. She has not got the right tone to handle this shit right now. She needs to go away.
Maybe.
Calm the fuck down and learn how to talk to people, because I've witnessed, well, we all have because we've seen the clips, she can be rabid, man. She can snap, like we all can, but we're not all politicians trying to handle these things. Do you know what I mean? And she just doesn't have a handle on her inner anger. And it comes out
maybe
badly.
Maybe. I don't know.
Especially when you're dealing with people who've got no trust in the system. Because they're automatically going to be like vulnerable, and sensitive.
100% without a doubt.
They're not going to react like your common average person because they have PTSD for a start, and this is directly regarding that. I don't get it.
I mean, I'm not going into bat for Starmer, obviously, but I think the judge-led thing is what he said in PMQs. If they have a judge-led thing, I think he said they've opened 115,000 cases criminally. They would have to wait for every single one of those to end their process before they started a judge-led inquiry. So I can see why he said, let's do both concurrently.
So it's a mechanical problem.
It's a logistics. Yeah, exactly. And so so that makes sense to me. So that affects the change quicker than if we have to wait another 10 years for all these trials and criminal proceedings to go through, be thrown out, whatever's going to happen with them. So I get that for him. I understand what you're saying about Jess Phillips as well. I think her track record is amazing, but she does get a bit carried away sometimes. But I rate her highly.
Word I can't think of. It's her. Oh, it'll come to me tomorrow.
We'll get there.
Temperament.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I'm sure she's a lovely person when you meet her. Well, my friend met her last week, but she's just fierce, and I think she's probably encountered that much frustration with what she's doing. She can't help it.
Yeah, and I think I think she's kind of a little like Angela Rayner in that she's easy for people on the right to kind of paint as, there's a certain amount of misogyny, well, probably more than a certain amount of misogyny involved. She's easy to paint as a person who is not right for the job and is a bit of a left-wing firebrand and all of that kind of stuff. And for both of them, unfortunately, in the end, it does get picked up and goes against them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's interesting that the first thing on my note. Sorry, Sal.
But like you said, Rupert Lowe and that have come along, haven't they? And the reformists, and they're all, come here, we'll listen to you.
Yeah, no, it is. I think that whole far right. Yeah, Rupert Lowe's kind of crowd-funded, independent in inverted commas investigation into this is. I don't know what happened with that. I think it's still going. He managed to get about £1 million out of the public to get it going, but I don't know if it's still happening or not. But
Lord fucking ho.
Yeah. But it's interesting you say about the misogyny, Chantal, because in my first thing in my notes this week, or was from Monday, was about, and I put scripted misogyny ? Because I noticed last weekend, Nigel Farage in his interview with Michelle Hussein, who was so rude to her.
Yeah, incredibly rude.
She handled
you're really trying
so well.
I mean, she's an absolute consummate professional at what she does.
I'd have took one for the team, mate.
But there was that, and then also last weekend I saw a video of Trump on Air Force One, and there was a journalist asking him questions, and he said, "Oh, look, young lady," and he was being really patronizing and misogynist as well. I mean, I thought, is this has some sort of memo gone out to all the far right leaders going, right, let's bring this back to the 1970s. Let's start
30s.
Treating women really badly. It's really weird. I don't know. There's this whole far right misogynist thing going on at the moment, which just seems to be coming through, which is odd.
Speaking of misogyny, is it Reform Roundup time?
I can do Reform Roundup time. I only did a couple of things this week. My Reform Roundup.
What?
Well,
there's nuts.
I know. But I wrote my notes on Monday, but we didn't get a chance to record. So I had a little Reform Roundup Wales edition, which
I know, my bad. I was sick. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But I was just sort of, I'll say it because as we speak, as we record, the by-election is happening in Caerphilly, and Reform have gone fully headlong into this election with everything they've got. Farage is there this afternoon doing door knocking in Caerphilly, and it all comes back to the guy Lur, I don't know how you pronounce it. I think that's his name in Wales, but the candidate for Caerphilly was filmed. Pardon? He what? Sorry, Claire. Oh, okay,
Claire.
Yeah, right.
His name's
I'm not even gonna Claire. I'm not even going to try that because I'll offend too many Welsh people. But yeah,
I can say easy because I'm Scouse. You see.
Oh yeah, you've got that Scouse bit. You got the pronunciation perfectly already.
Go back to your Schweppes advert.
Oh yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I wrote on Monday about it, that the lies involved in their campaign, that they were putting up posters around Caerphilly saying that the 20 miles an hour speed limit in Wales wasn't working, which is a lie because of all the data shows that it has actually worked.
They brought that in before my son was born, and he's 19. I'm very confused.
Yeah, and it's cut deaths and accidents down by a huge percentage. It's ridiculous.
But it's like 20 years old.
No, it's only a few years old, but it's 26% in road casualties it's dropped, which is a massive drop.
In Caerphilly, maybe, but they've been doing it in North Wales for 20.
Well, they did it in Bristol, probably about 20 years ago as well. I've got two things I wanted to say about Reform this week, apart from the Wales stuff, which is kind of moot now because it's happening today. Two things that have appeared in the last 24 hours. One is Richard Tice has been appointed the new head of Doge, which is just an absolute comedy move from Reform. I don't know what on earth they're thinking about here because it's just nuts. Big fanfare last night with a bit on the nose kind of graphic of Richard Tice in The Godfather.
Give me strength.
The Doge father.
I mean, Jesus. I need a prop bag of popcorn for this pod.
It's just a bit on the nose, right? So they're using the mafia, the most famously corrupt institution in the world, probably, apart from maybe the Vatican. Oh no, I'm going to get cancelled for that.
You brave lad.
Yeah, the king's there. The king's there at the moment.
Yeah.
That's not
true.
Why has she gone dressed like the bride of funerals? Is that what you're supposed to do to meet the Pope? Do you have to dress all in black?
I guess.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Is that normal?
I don't know.
Very weird. She looked like Monica Rose off Schitt's Creek.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyone who's ever read anything I've ever written or listened to this will know what my opinions of Doge are. And I take a little bit of credit for getting the news out in June of this year that Doge actually was a complete con in the first place when Zaya Yusuf set it up, and I wrote loads about it, a massive article. Zaya Yusuf blocked me because he got a bit stroppy with me, didn't he? And and it's been a dead duck, and now resurrecting this corpse of a Quango and bringing it back with Richard Tice at the helm, which is weird.
But it gets even more interesting, doesn't it, Don? What did you discover today?
Wow, yeah, this is the second thing I've written down. Apart from head of Doge, lol, I've written on my notes. But Richard Tice, as far as I can see, has never appeared in a photograph with Zaya Yusuf and Nigel Farage together, apart from one, which was pointed out, which was at the party conference when there was the big line of them in the football strips, and they were very far apart. But I cannot find another photograph, and I've asked ChatGPT, I've asked Grok, I've asked everyone on Twitter to find me photographs of Richard Tice, Nigel Farage, and Zaya Yusuf together. There isn't one. Bit odd. A little bit weird.
Very, very odd, all things considered.
Yeah.
I don't know what's that about.
So
Chairmanship of
I
Reform
think we should
jealousy.
spread
I don't know.
scurrilous rumours. I've already started.
So what is Ziad now doing as a result of all this then, Don?
He's head of policy, apparently. So,
okay.
Because he was head of Doge, and then he dropped out after, who was it that made the remarks about banning the burqa? One of the, Sarah Pochin. And he left. He said, I'm not going to be part of reform anymore.
It wasn't because of that, though, was it?
Well, that was kind of at the same time.
He said it was because he was overworked or something, didn't he?
Yeah. It lasted 2 days. He was 48 hours. He was back. And then he wasn't head of Doge again, though. He hasn't been since then because Doge doesn't exist, effectively. It's just not a thing. And then, I think they announced him as head of policy, about a month ago. So, since then they've put out 0 policies, so he's doing as good a job there as he was at Doge. But go on, Sam.
He mentioned in his post yesterday all the savings that they'd identified, yet they've not shared those savings with us, Don, have they?
No, and that post has now been deleted.
No, was it?
Richard Tice's post. Yeah, he deleted it. He said he'd found billions in savings, along with his little mafia poster that he'd put out. And then within, I think, about 2 or 3 hours, I went to bed anyway. And by the time I woke up this morning, that had been deleted, that post. So
yeah, and this goes alongside the kind of withdrawal of the promise to, make 90 billion of savings should they win the general election. Yeah. And it also goes alongside
over 80 years.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then we've got this embarrassing debacle at Kent County Council with several councillors having been suspended and what have you. Yeah, and at the same time saying, if we can keep the council tax increase to below 5%, I think we've done a good job. I'm sorry, I thought you were finding a load of spare cash under the mattress.
Exactly.
And distributing amongst the lucky shareholders who voted you into power.
Exactly.
So anyway,
can I just say that this is a democracy, unless I disagree with you all, in which case my vote carries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And if not, you can fuck off. I think that was the council language that was used, wasn't
it? Yeah, and Linda Kemkaran, the leader of Kent County Council, got very, very stroppy about this. I discovered 2 days ago that she follows me on Twitter, which was weird.
Oh, okay. Okay. I should be well pleased at this podcast then.
I know. Dr. David Bull blocked me on Twitter this week, which was quite a thing. So I think potentially...
I can't take him to...
No, you can't. Of course not.
Can you not?
No. I just simply cannot.
It may be potentially
Is that because of your eyes and your ears and your brain?
Has he blocked you, Sal?
I don't know.
It's just because
most of them have.
we kind of went to town on him a few episodes ago, talking about him and Derek Akora.
I can't get the boys to block me
in his boot. What? Sorry,
I can't get the boys to block me. Although Zion might have. No, I can't remember.
He's blocked me. Yeah, he blocked me when I pointed out that Doge was a scam originally. So yeah, I don't know. Reform. It is a roundabout of clowns, I said yesterday, and I stick by that because they're just rotating these MPs in and out at different positions, apart from Lee Anderson, who's never allowed to be anything apart from Lee Anderson.
No.
Because he's a bit of a liability. But it's a very strange reform week. Go on, Sal.
No, not blocked, but oh my God, I'm having a blank. What's Lee Anderson? I think that they don't block me because I do my utmost unless I really can't help it. So a couple of times a day. I try not to interact with them because I don't want to give them the clicks.
I've never interacted with David Bull. Not once.
That could be why. Have you not?
Never. Not once.
Oh, that's good. That means you're famous.
Maybe a little memo has gone out there, a little on-headed reform note paper. Yeah.
What's this guy?
Blocking of Dom. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. Oh, wait till my article comes out on Monday that I'm writing at the moment. They're going to flipping hate me. So.
Oh, brilliant. What's it say? Give us a preview.
It's about reform donations that they receive, and there's a lot of questions, shall we say, over some of their donations. I'm not going to give too much away because I'm going to run it past the Observer first as well. Our friendly journalist at the Observer, Kat Nealon, hopefully she might be able to give me something on it as well. So I'm going to run it past her before I put it out. But I've had a Twitter colleague who I'm not going to identify, who's an accountant, who's been sending me loads of stuff over the last few weeks. I've called him Mr. X, and between he and I, there's a long article I've almost finished. But there's some very shady donations gone into to reform over the years, back from when it was the Brexit Party up to now.
I was watching a thing on YouTube, might have been last week, that I really should have copied and sent to you. I'll do that in a bit. It was just a little documentary on, I can't remember what it was now, but it linked it was a geographical sort of learning about a place type documentary, because I can't go anywhere, so I do it from my bed. But it was something to do with oligarchs, and like nothing to do with reform or any politics at all. But it linked oligarchs in Russia and Montenegro.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I thought there might be some names in there that might be helpful. So I'll have to go through my history and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I think, that you raised a really good point. I think that this Russia connection with reform is a real Achilles heel. And obviously the denial, I've never heard of the guy, who's been sort of sitting in Parliament for the European Parliament and wherever else, extolling the virtues of the Russians for cash. Never heard of the guy. And then you talk about photos going, there he is front and centre with our Nige, looking like the best of pals. So it really is very much a sort of a weak link for them. And then there was this little story just kind of sneaked into some of my social media and things about the potential that Vlad is arranging some of the small boat crossings in order to boost their kind of opportunity to. Now, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you wouldn't be shocked to find out that there was a connection there somewhere, would you?
No, not at all.
No.
They're disrupting. Yeah, exactly. It's disruptors. There's loads of them at it at the moment. I wrote a thing about it on Twitter this morning about the different bots that are being paid to sort of like push angles like that as well. And yeah, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they were in part of that sort of small boat crisis that we're going through at the moment. Yeah.
I just wish I knew what it was all for. Can't we just tell them all to fuck off? They just arrested under the 3 Russian spies. Was it yesterday?
Today? Yeah.
Oh, today.
I saw the headline this morning. Yeah, 3 more Russian spies arrested in London. I put a picture of. That's why I was trying to find a picture of Farage, Tyson, Yusuf together. Couldn't find one.
Right. Okay. There you go.
That's what set it off. I saw the headline. I was
so weird.
I was going to put a little picture, laughing away underneath, of Farage, Tyson, Yusuf, but one picture of those 3 does not exist.
No. I get this distinct impression you wouldn't be able to see Richard Tyson in Mirror either.
But you know what?
True.
The only thing, the only reason I can come up with for them to do this is that Yusuf just is a very unconvincing, terrible liar. And Tice doesn't give a shit whether he's convincing or not.
No.
He will just do it till the cows come home.
Yeah. But Yusuf, bless him, he takes himself very seriously, whereas Richard Tice has got that kind of hockey...
I've already made it.
Supercilious kind of air about him, So they've got such a different approach.
Yeah,
Zero is
delusional.
Wound up.
They're all a bit tapped in the fucking head.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tice is an interesting character, and he forms a massive part of this article I've written about the donations, because he's basically kept reform afloat for years, since 2019 onwards. Him and 3 of his companies have donated in inverted commas to reform, I think 50 times, millions and millions of pounds. And I think he's...
Is that a tax write-off?
Well, the donations, so I don't know. But Tice is the director of 17 companies, I think, and some of which are in the Bahamas, some of which are in, he's got offshore holdings as well.
Yeah.
But what I was wondering is that I think that Farage isn't so beholden on Tice anymore for money. He's got Yusuf and Nick Candy now, who are I mean, Christopher Harbour is another situation altogether. He's given them 13 million quid over the years. But I think Tice has been...
Yeah, but he's always had George and Mama George, hasn't he?
Yeah, the Cottrell family, but they're not... Compared to the amount of donations that Tice put, I found an FT article from a couple of years ago saying Richard Tice claiming that he kept Reform afloat. I think there's an ego thing with him, that he's been keeping Farage going for years. Well, of course, but now Yusuf has come along with his new money and Nick Candy. I think Tice might have a bit of knickers in a twist a little bit about that. I don't know.
Look, probably what he recognises, like any egotist, is that actually the entire party is Nigel Farage. And if he if he packed his bags and stormed out, the whole damn thing had come crashing down. And he knows it. Yeah. He knows it. And he probably doesn't like it. It's a one-person party.
Oh, yeah, for sure, without a doubt. It doesn't exist without Farage. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
All we need is for Panorama to go and do an undercover in Reform like they did with UK. And blow them out the water.
Yeah. UKIP's an absolute... Oh, no, so let's not go down that rabbit hole.
We'll talk about UKIP because it's Nick Tenconi who's kind of, made my eyes sort of open a little bit about
Trump. He's hilarious. Yeah. He's hilariously terrible.
He's proper mad.
Mm. Well, he thinks he's the reincarnation of Benito Mussolini, doesn't he? Walking around the streets, like screaming, ripping up flags, things like that. I don't know. He's just
when he went over to Calais, I mean, how to humiliate yourself in one easy lesson?
Yeah,
but
he's also got this evangelical kind of approach about him as well. That fundamentalist Christian thing that he brings. It's interesting. I was talking a little bit about how he described Charlie Kirk, and that kind of led to some of his comments about trans people. And you can see where he's coming from, and the way that he has this vision to almost set up a sort of conservative Christian fundamentalist state. And that would be the thing that would try. I mean, look at Tommy Robinson. All of a sudden, he's got people carrying crosses around at his little rallies, and all of this kind of tosh sort of coming in. It
couldn't be more contrary to the Bible if it tried.
I know, it's just ridiculous. And hey, I don't want to come across as somebody who's sort of anti-religion. I'm just not into having it leveraged for far right,
used as a shield by charlatans.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's nonsense. Jesus wouldn't have gone for that. I'm going to tell you that now.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, I was asked to go on, I was interviewed about going on a Radio 4 panel a couple of weeks ago because I wrote a bit about the far right and weaponizing the Christian fundamentalism stuff. It was when they put the graffiti in inverted commas around Canterbury Cathedral, and the whole of the far right lost their mind on Twitter in like less than 24 hours, including JD Vance, before they realised that it was temporary. They thought they'd spray painted.
Yeah, right.
But they went mad.
Exactly.
Tommy Robinson, JD Vance, all that lot were ploughing it out on social media, and it got billions of views without them even knowing the facts behind it. But
and heaven forbid we should make the church relevant.
Well, exactly. I wrote in my article about it that the whole point, I think, was nothing to do with the church, because they're not interested in the church. It's a bandwagon. Yeah. But the guy who put that together was a gay vegan. I mean, that's like anathema to the fucking far right, isn't it?
Of course. Of course.
Oh, my God.
God. Yeah. Weirdo.
So fucking a gay vegan and graffitiing the church. Oh, my God. Like meltdown of the entire right wing of... Well, it wasn't Britain, it was America as well.
It's like the oil thing, isn't it?
The what, sorry?
Oh, God. The soup people.
The soup dragons?
Cooking soup and doing Stonehenge. No, the oil people.
Just stop oil.
Just stop oil. Yeah.
Thank you.
thought-
JSO.
I thought you meant the band,
So
the
when
Sea
they were-
Dragons.
God, that'd be
I love the
retro.
Sea Dragons. They were awesome. Yeah.
Oh, it take me right back now. No, but like Stonehenge and all that was all just cornflower, wasn't it, and stuff, and they all went mental.
Yeah, I know.
It's just outrage farming. It drives me mental because people buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And funnily enough, sometimes, if you look at the nature of protest, for instance, again, we'll be talking about that shortly. It seems that protest in the today is always absolutely reviled, and yet we look back on protest throughout history, even the most violent protests, and we see heroes. It's just really weird that when people kind of repeat it. I mean, I'll think of two that I can think of. The Vietnam protests, which of course were all vilified. That was all communists and whatever. It was all a massive communist plot. And don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure Russia was behind some of it. It would have helped them out no end. But, they were hugely violent. Of course, Kent State, we had, 5 deaths and several people more shot. But the big one that we all seem to now herald as, women standing up for what's right for women and absolutely right is the suffragettes. Of course, absolute mayhem, smashing windows, destroying property, even firebombs, setting off bombs and so on. And yet, they're heroes. So, if Just Stop Oil did that today, wow.
What have Palestine Action, Hamas, Gandhi, and Nelson Mandela all got in common?
Is this serious or is it a joke? Sounds like a set up to a joke.
No, all four of them were designated terrorists.
Terrorist groups, yeah.
All 4 of them. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's true.
Political overreach.
But it's good that we've now got Lucy Connolly to obviously replace Nelson Mandela as
the martyr, the queen of martyrs.
Yes, Chantel.
Exactly. Yeah. Because 14 months in a women's nick in Britain is like exactly the same as 30 years on Robben Island.
Exactly the same.
Exactly.
Yes.
I know.
As a black man.
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed that she's been dropped like a hot potato out of the reform
Lucy
kind of basket, hasn't she? So her and Graham Linehan. Sorry, yeah. Her and Graham Linehan at one point were like, as you say, foisted on us as these martyrs of like society. And Farage, when I wrote about the Judiciary Committee that he was in America, brought both of them into it a lot. But after that, it seems to have disappeared quite a lot. They've realised
Well, they said the purpose, didn't they?
So toxic, aren't they?
They got him over there.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. I mean, certainly Graham Linehan, he is so anti-trans. It's more than just, you can pretend to, sort of cover that all up with the women's rights issues and standing up. But it's way beyond that. I don't know. You would imagine he's suffering from some kind of mania.
If that man had anyone in his life who loved him, he'd be sectioned by now.
There's a mental health issue.
I'm not being a horrible bastard. I'm being serious. He's psychologically unwell.
He is. He is unwell, definitely.
There's no two ways about that.
Can I ask you something, Chantal? Then have you seen Roisin Murphy's latest tirade about this?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm really. I've seen that developing over the last couple of weeks, and something she put out today is like crazed as far as I can tell. It's gone a bit kind of Graham Linehan-y.
Yeah.
Point of order. Can I just ask who Roisin Murphy is?
She's a singer, Irish singer. She was the lead singer in Moloko for a long time, and then went off on her own.
No. Oh, right.
An absolute idol to the LGBTQ plus movement for a long time. Very much so.
Yeah.
But she's come out in the last few weeks as sort of going a bit turfy.
Very turfy. And, it's interesting how that starts, because she's another example of somebody who begins on a particular route, and then either through revealing the sort of true feeling behind it, or And, let's not deny that people who come out and discuss these issues online, particularly platforms like X, I mean, they are subjected to some terrible abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm even going to go as far as defending people like J.K. Rowling. I mean, it would be wrong to sort of have this discussion without acknowledging the level of abuse that they're subjected to. It's not helpful, and I think
From
it also from what we might call kind of trans activists, or more radical trans activists, and so on. There are death threats and there are rape threats and there are all sorts of, it's stupid. It's stupid because it doesn't help the cause. But
no.
I wonder if there's a mixture of this kind of revealing of true feeling, but also a kind of radicalization that comes from kind of knowing that, they've also probably been abused to within an inch of their life, and that has helped with the kind of radicalization thing.
Kind of catch-22 thing.
I don't know how much. Well, it's just a bit of both. I think it can be a bit of both, and you reach a point probably where it's like, well, if that's the way you're going to be with me, then I'm going to be that way with you. It's just that silly waffoutery thing.
Yeah.
So it's not. The whole debate is horribly, horribly toxic on platforms like X. Really horrible. But at the same time, if you know that, you come out and say certain stuff, you are you've got to expect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Sorry, Sal, you carry on.
I just don't get it.
Mm.
I just don't get being that hateful. Like, the worst demographic on the planet for causing problems for people is men in suits, man.
Yeah.
When are we going to catch on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know.
It is. It's crazy, and I'll talk about it in a while with you guys, but
take the floor, please.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was. I don't know if you guys found this kind of interesting, but I thought that the murder of Charlie Kirk was deplorable, and the manner of it was horrible, and to actually see it kind of happening in real time, it was dreadful. And violence it's not the answer to anything at all, but the outpouring of emotion that followed his death in this country was bonkers. When did we ever talk about Charlie Kirk? I mean, beyond sort of seeing him on X because he was being, through the algorithms, he's being promoted by our Elon. Nobody had ever really heard of him. And, you'd even go as far as talking about people like James O'Brien, who is, he's a great journalist, and he is obviously on the left in terms of his political views. But he had to physically go out and find some stuff on Charlie Kirk in order to have a phone in on his radio show because he knew nothing about him, and he's a guy who's in touch with global politics. Nobody knew him, and as part of this kind of outpouring, Sheila Fogarty, who I'm not a great lover of Sheila Fogarty, she invited Nick Tenconi on to her show mid-September, something like that. Yeah, she invited him on as a mouthpiece for kind of talking about how conservatives in this country, well, when we talk about conservatives, we're not talking about beaten schoolboys. We're talking about real fundamentalist conservatism. And to talk about, sort of Charlie Kirk and what his death meant and what it meant for that kind of religious fundamentalist movement. And he said that, freedom of speech, he said, must go hand in hand with conservative ideology. And that was what gave Charlie his platform. And he described him. He said, we had a warrior and a disciple of Christ, is the way that he described Charlie Kirk. No less, talking about truth, justice, light, honor, and courage. So the way that he's almost deifying the whole kind of thing. So there was that, and it all felt sort of very blown up. And then he suddenly dipped in to this speech, which went from talking about Charlie Kirk, and he then says, and I'm sorry, I am reading this, but it is worth it because it was a bit of a shocker for me. And he said that now we are into a realm that, because of the far left rhetoric and far left violence being normalised, specifically through the utilisation of the radical trans lobby. This is what he's saying, where they openly say punch a TERF, which insinuates you should punch a radical feminist. Kill all TERFs, he said.
Who said that?
That's, well, I mean, look, those are some of the things that you see written on daft performative placards at rallies in support of people. You know, that demonstrations can often be performative. We know that. You know, if you look at the majority of people, for instance, who are turning out to support Palestinians, they're there to support Palestinians. But you're always going to get idiots who want to wear Hamas gear and take that. You're going to get.
I had I had a conversation on Facebook a few weeks ago with an anti-fascist Facebook group who'd been protesting whatever it was, and they were talking about wearing masks, and I just went, why are you wearing masks? It's self-defeating. It's like you've got something to be ashamed of, or you're going to do something, you're going to cause trouble. You're better off just standing there. Nothing upsets them more than being smiled at. That's all you've got to do is stand there and smile and be friendly and happy. It drives them insane. And we ended up having a really good discourse, because I thought, I'm going to do it, but I thought I was going to get attacked, and I didn't, which was nice, because you know what? Leftists aren't actually violent people. Some of them get driven to it, but you get extremists everywhere on everything in every demographic.
Yeah, you do. I remember when poor Brianna Ghey was murdered, and I was living down near Portsmouth at the time, and we had an evening there where we were remembering her. And I went along, and there were quite a number of sort of university students there and members of the trans community. And there were 3 guys sitting in the row in the cathedral in front of me, and all dressed in black. And they had banners or whatever inside a bag, and I could see what they were. They were, clearly left-wing agitators. And I leaned across to them and said, if you're even considering putting those banners out in this cathedral at this time when we're lighting candles for somebody's, just don't do it. All right? Yeah. They go everywhere. They go absolutely everywhere. And unfortunately, it's easy to then clip that out and attach that to a tweet or a headline or whatever it is to say, look what trans people are like. They're mad. They want to kill women. They want to do this. They want to do that. It's so easy to do, but it's performative. But Nick Tenconi then went on to sort of say that, again, you leveraging trans people in the light of diversity, inclusion, and tolerance, the liberal elite governments in the West have enabled this sort of behavior, this sort of mindset. And this is saying on a radio phone-in during the day, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sheila Fogarty, you didn't challenge him.
Well, I mean, Sheila Fogarty is one of the reasons why I stopped listening to LBC, because she's very, like, she's anti-trans, and, so there's a reason why she didn't challenge that, because she probably shares those views with him. And she's quite vocal about it. And she says, you can call me a TERF if you want. Well, yeah, you are. But yeah, I didn't even know they had Tenconi on. That's a really low blow from LBC, that really low blow. Wow.
Yeah, I think it is. Because obviously, we know that Nick in the morning, Nick Ferrari, he regularly parades, Nigel Farage.
Yeah, he
gives
does.
him a great platform, and they're all sort of pally. But going as far as Nick Tenconi was a shock.
Yeah,
but there is then this kind of, because we all know that it's and by the way, I want to make something quite clear before I get bombarded on Twitter or you get bombarded or whatever. What I'm not suggesting is that people who have concerns or want to have discussions about the trans people and but they're not Nazis and fascists and that all of that kind of overused. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm saying is that without realizing that there's a number of them that are becoming useful idiots for the far right, and the way that they're able to do that is because so many of the women that are involved in this movement are just so bloody ordinary and middle class and so respectable. And so therefore, once you sort of put these people in front of the camera and sort of start to say, look, you know, some of the language that you're using is feeding into something much more sinister, nobody believes it.
They're doing it deliberately, though, so you can't stop them.
Of course. Oh, absolutely. You know, absolutely. I mean, you know, you can't imagine sort of police turning up to talk to Sharon Davis and deciding that she's a, you know, ultra fascist. And yeah, well, I got blocked calling her that. So yeah, that's a sort of part of it. But you've also got, you know, you've got people like Helen Joyce and Maya Forstater. And yeah, Helen Joyce is a really good example. You know, she's clearly an intelligent woman. She doesn't know anything about trans people. She's got no education in medicine, biology. And in fact, the courts in Australia, you know, when she was doing some work there, just dismissed her out of hand. Just said you've got no expertise in the topic at all. But because she's, you know, she's eloquent, she's erudite, and eminently sensible, she's highly believable. But you just have to listen to some of the shit that he comes out with. It's nonsense, and nobody ever challenges it.
No. It's similar to the rape inquiry. It's people coming along who've got no lived experience directing those of us with lived experience of what to do.
Yeah.
You what? You want to fuck off?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, there's a couple of, I don't know the names of the couple of goons who do some interviews on YouTube. As you do some YouTube stuff, you might know them, John.
Probably.
They never ask any questions or challenge anybody. They nod along like a couple of
trigonometry.
Oh, they're just nod along.
Is it?
Helen Joyce is sitting there and she's saying, well, the problem is with trans people, apart from the fact she's described us as a massive problem in a sane world and we should be, you know, sort of cut out.
Listen, Chantel,
society or whatever.
Trans people have only existed, since 5,000 BC, or is it 500 BC?
No.
They're just getting used to the cultural change.
Only the last 5 years. There weren't any before that. And she kind of described trans people. She said the problem is with them is that their idea of a woman is they're always at the extreme. So they wear these ridiculous high heels and short skirts and they sort of parade around with all this ridiculous makeup as an impression of a woman. And you just said, well, you know, and the two guys said, yeah, that's exactly right. And in fact, when she went on to Woman's Hour to discuss some of the outcomes of the UK Supreme Court ruling, and the woman who was interviewing her actually challenged some of her views, her supporters were outraged that she'd actually been subject to a more challenging interview around some of the things that she was actually saying. So you've got this kind of believability thing that's kind of going along, and that makes it therefore easy to land terms like invasion, which we recognize from the small boats thing. Then you start to create territory there. This is an invasion. They would talk about an invasion of fighting age men coming over on small boats. We also talk in terms of an invasion of trans women in women's spaces. You know, as if merely the queue for the local women's toilets in the pub, you're beating them off with a stick. I mean, most of the people that you talking like this have never even seen a trans person.
That's it.
Ever been in a space with them. It's utterly bloody ridiculous. But once you create these...
Or conversely, they have been in a space with them and not really noticed, and nothing happened. You know, like
no.
It's crazy.
And then once you create the territory, which is either asylum hotels or it's changing rooms or loos or whatever it is, then you can start to, you know, really get between people and create these situations in people's minds that they should be afraid of. You know, you tell people to be afraid, and once you start to get people afraid, they can say what they bloody well like about people. I mean, how many years have we gone back with the way that people are allowed to talk about brown people nowadays and Muslims? How many years have we gone back?
Just the type of language that's being used by mainstream politicians is insane. If you dug Maggie up now, who, notwithstanding, is not our top 3 worst PM anymore, not even in it.
No.
If you dug her up and put her in the corner to listen to the interviews these arseholes do, she'd have a heart attack of disgust. And that's someone who used to support PDF files. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
exactly. But
I refuse to move my Overton window.
Yeah, well, and that's the point. So you've got, on the one hand, you've got the far right who know that they can use particular groups of people, and clearly Nick Tanconi thinks it's trans people. Nigel Farage thinks it's people arriving on small boats, what we now term illegals.
Yeah.
Illegals. I mean, what a way to describe a
So
person.
bad.
And they can sort of shift the Overton window there, but also the far right know that they can create division within the left, that they can create a toxic debate around trans people where you've got people who identify with the left but are maybe extremely uncomfortable with trans people or the idea of trans people, or believe that part of their strength in being left wing is women's rights being at the forefront, and you've got the right wing telling them that trans people are actually undermining that discussion, taking away your rights, withdrawing women's rights, setting women's rights back a million. And now my space, my Twitter feed, is full of angry gay blokes who are doing exactly the same thing.
What?
Telling everybody that they want a divorce from the QIA plus. It's all about LGB people, not
it's
about
the LGB group. Yeah.
And of course you've got LGB Alliance, who are a registered charity. It's totally anti-trans organisation. They can sue me if they like. They are, and they're a part of this. And so again, where gay rights and trans rights and the left wing have always, to my mind, been a sort of close family. That the far right are now starting to cleave that apart, because they're telling these guys that actually you've got all the rights, you fought really hard for them, and now all these weirdos are coming along and fucking it up for you. But now you're going to get tainted with the weirdo brush again, just like you were 30, 40 years ago. So you can see how they're starting to use this and manipulate this discussion. And by the way, I want to make it quite, I don't think any of this is a conspiracy theory. You can see it playing out online anytime you like. Anytime you like. And so
that's just a conspiracy, a legitimate one.
Yeah, it is.
But it all is. It's all a conspiracy.
Right. But it's all happening. And even if it's just happening in a little corner of somewhere, the reason I wanted to talk about it was because these things have a habit of starting to grow. And they're bigger than you realise, and they're suddenly a thing that's impacting many lives before you've even had a chance to say, hold on a minute, that's not right.
Had you considered joining forces with the Muslims? I mean, the pair of you could take over the world.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I do sometimes wonder if Muslims and trans people are the two groups of people you can say what you bloody well like about, and nobody cares.
Also disabled people.
Oh, yeah, there is disabled people. Another sort of lazy bunch of sponges who clearly, yeah. It's a life of luxury, isn't it, being disabled?
That's it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So there you go. You know, if you can leverage disabled people to get people angry, it doesn't take much to do it with trans and Muslims.
Well, it goes between disabled people, trans people, and immigrants, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A revolving triangle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
unfortunately,
massive minorities also.
It's
interesting.
But it's all about hatred, and this is the point. You know, it's not about discussion. And listen, trans people can be as guilty as earth at refusing to discuss this subject. You know, it's kind of all or nothing thing. Hey, and I'll also be, for somebody who's been involved in a very big organisation in terms of DEI and so on, I'd also probably be big enough to admit that maybe some of that went a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Particularly with, when Black Lives Matter really exploded, a lot of organisations thought, Christ, we better get our DEI sorted out. But it was so new to us, I think, as a country, that probably just like, you just run headlong into it, you throw a load of crap at the wall, and a lot of it sticks, and a lot of it just stinks.
It's difficult, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult, but then, as Nick Tanconi did, you then condemn the whole idea of it being nice to people and caring about people as being a tool of the left-wing radical elite that's being used to undermine society and cause division. I know you couldn't make it up in my mind, quite
Oh, no,
frankly.
they're all trying to keep us distracted so we don't pay attention to what they're doing. That's what all of it. It's all the culture war. That's all it is.
Yes,
Perpetual dead cats.
That immigrant wants your cookie.
Yeah, it's that meme, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes, exactly that. But anyway, so there you go. That's my passionate rant for the evening.
No, thank you. No, yeah, thanks. No,
totally
really. Yeah. I mean, we're just nodding along because we absolutely agree with everything you're saying, and to us it seems quite obvious. And one thing that I will say that I had when I was chatting to my friend Dave on last weekend, he's saying like he would like if we had some contesting viewpoints on our podcast. So I'm just going to put a call out now. If anyone's watching / listening, I'd love for someone to come on and argue differently, because I was
just going to say we need to have a dust up because Don's mates are bored.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, come on.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not allowed back to Leeds unless he gets a dust up organised.
I know. I need a reform counsellor to come on. No, but I don't know. It's just when you said like, the radical left elite. You know, I get called that like 1,000 times a day on Twitter at the moment. You know, either that or a Marxist, communist, whatever, by people who don't understand what the words mean. But
yeah, well, exactly, and you know, I get called a TRA and whatever. Can I tell you? I get up in the morning, I make a cup of tea, I meander around, I switch the radio on, I have a shower, I get ready, I go to work. I'm not rallying up and down the village high road shouting at everybody who dares to look at me the wrong
waving
way.
flags. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
Bloody ridiculous.
It is.
Going about my business.
But that's my point. Is like we don't see it as, our view is that the same as yours. It's like, why what's the big deal? Why are people like upset about this? But it comes down to what you've said, I think, and it's the monetization of hatred at the moment, which is massive.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's every facet of the far right, in trans, in disabled people, in benefits claimants, in brown people, whatever you want to put it. It's just a cycle of fucking abuse for 100%. These people. Yeah.
And once you've cemented these fears and these hatreds in people's minds, it's then very easy to position yourself as the only solution. There's only one party that can do something about all this stuff, eh?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't vote for us, you're in deadly danger. You know, that gang of grannies up the road there, you know, just sort of feel like, I don't even remember Monty Python with those grannies that used to go up and down the high road whacking everybody. I kind of imagine, like, trans people are sort of painted in that sort of ridiculous way.
Oh, you see, that's who I feel I'm maturing into.
Yeah, but for all the right reasons.
Yeah, I know.
You'd only hit idiots.
I'm like a modernised Mary Whitehouse. Sweary Whitehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see that, and that's the reason why I didn't want to sort of come on here and just talk about women's sports and women's spaces and all the other kind of stuff that everybody else seems to want to focus on, because those are the really easy things to focus on. And nobody wants to really talk about what's, to your point, Sal, what's really happening underneath all this. People are being conned by the millions. And what, if you want to, really rant about Nigel Farage, the chief conner of the lot, who's conned us into making ourselves poorer, has now seems to have totally snapped themselves away from that. It's now conning us that he's the next Messiah. It's just
when he's a very naughty boy.
Exactly, we know that. So, there are some people who are just so bloody good at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've written that loads of times about Farage.
So bloody good at being terrible.
Yeah, he's a master con man, that guy. I mean, he's like out in the open.
Superb.
Yeah, he really is. Him, and I think Tommy Robinson's almost in that bracket as well. I mean, he just does whatever he fucking well wants, and he just gets away with it. Apart from being chucked in jail once, but he does that. It's good for his brand to get chucked in jail, so.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And who was front and centre on his videos of his sort of grand rally in London 6 weeks ago, whenever it was? Kelly J. Keane, who's one of the leading anti-trans activists in Britain. And of course, her sideline is attacking sort of the Islamic religion for subjugated and sort of women, and just nothing to do with that.
Absolutely.
Nothing to do with that at all, So there you've got a prime example of somebody who's fastened very, very firmly to the far right, who has Nazis turning up to rallies in Australia or New Zealand, which it was, who's standing in front of the camera saying, look, as soon as you say that you want to protect women and children, you're called far right. Now, actually, if you appear with Tommy Robinson and you have actual Nazis at your rallies, you get called far right. Weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah, funny. Strange.
So that's all. There's a connection, and I did a quick sort of like one of those sort of quick and dirty surveys where when any women were starting to be really extreme towards me with their comments, I'd have a really good look on their timeline, and I think probably 70 to 75% of people who are having a go at trans people online are also posting certainly anti-Muslim, if not anti-immigrant stuff,
and probably
as well.
bots.
On a regular basis. But of course, apparently, it's not racist because Islam is not a race.
Yeah,
So obviously that
the Venn diagram of people that are in those two groups is a circle, effectively. Yeah, no, I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, enough.
On that bombshell, should we sign out from part 1?
Right,
thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been brilliant.
Absolute pleasure. Well, hopefully you've got some stuff there that you can use.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, loads.
It's an interesting discussion, and if nothing else, hopefully it will sort of cause people to sort of get involved more generally with other discussions and what have you. I just feel like I want to do something to try at least to get people to open their eyes there a little bit as to how badly they're being on.
Yeah,
well, we'll have you back on because we're in the repetition business. Saying it once doesn't work.
Definitely.
Doesn't it?
No. And I'd always sort of like more really happy if you wanted to have an opposing views thing rather than having just one person, but a couple of people sort of discussing a particular topic. I'd be more than happy to do that. So
you'd be up for that if we found somebody that was, I'm never going to have anyone abusive anywhere near us. So it'd have to be someone polite and respectful. But yeah, I mean, if we can find someone in that bracket, then maybe
polite and respectful turf, bonchons.
Yeah, well,
unfortunately.
the interesting.
Have you ever spoken to him on X? Or
yeah, what is interesting is if you
maybe get a man on.
Yeah. But if you get people on who are talking about this, in the end, what they say just ends up sounding ridiculous.
Yeah, that's it.
It invariably does. It just ends up sounding ridiculous because their kind of gotcha is, what is a woman? For fuck's sake, what is a woman?
Yeah, I get that all the time as well. Yeah.
It's just utterly ridiculous, and so the return question is always what are you afraid of? And by the time they've kind of like wound down on that, it's absolute bullshit. It always is.
Yeah.
I went out for my birthday dinner with my friend's brother and sister, brother and wife, and they started talking about communal toilets because they went to a concert where all the toilets were all unisex, and it's disgusting. I mean, what do you think of this, Sal? And I went, toilet's a toilet. I couldn't give a shit. Yeah. I've never been raped by a trans person or sexually assaulted, only by white men, so couldn't give a fuck. I'd rather there be a trans person in there if a knobhead was likely to come in, is what I'd rather. Yeah. And also I'm disabled, so I have to share my toilet with every cunt. So and the response was, well, they piss all over the seat. I've got news for you, ladies. So do women. You fucking idiot.
Have you been in a man's toilet
Which
recently?
is what I actually said to her. No, that was her point. Men piss all over the seat.
Yeah.
That's why she doesn't want to share. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Piss is piss.
Yeah, because trans people don't sit down and have a piss either, eh? No way.
No, but women do, and they still piss all over the toilet seat. So,
Yeah.
Anyway. I don't throw the kettle on, and I'll see you back here at past.
All right. Well,
take care, darling.
Look forward to listening to myself again. Thanks for the
lovely to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you. All right. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, chick.
Yeah.
Bye.